So hello guys, today we are going to review the movie. Movie name is The Bodyguard that came in 1992. Let's do its full movie review and know about its facts. So The Bodyguard 1992. That's overview. The Bodyguard is a romantic thriller film released in 1992. It's it's directed by Mike Jackson. It stars Whitney as Racket Moran, a famous singer, and Kevin Costner and Frank Farmer, a professional bodyguard hired to protect her from threats. And if it was plot summary, Raquel Moran is a renowned singer and actress who begins receiving threats from an obsessed fan. To ensure her safety, she hires Frank Farmer, a former Secret Service agent with a stoic demeanor and unmatched skills. As Frank's protective duties intensify, a romantic tension develops between the guarded star and her dedicated bodyguard. The story explores themes of love, trust, and dangers of fame. And if we talk about its key facts, it releases in November 25, 1992, and its director was Mike Jackson. Main cast: Whitney Orson, Kevin Costner, and Gary Camp, and Bill Cobbs. If we talk about music, the film features Whitney Houston's iconic soundtrack, including the hit "I Will Always Love You," which becomes one of the best selling singles of our time. And if we talk about box office, it was a commercial success, crossing over uh, 411 million worldwide. And if you talk about awards, the film received a Golden Globe nomination for Whitney Houston and was praised for its performances and soundtracks. And if we talk about interesting facts, Whitney Houston performed several songs in the movie, showcasing her music talent. The film's screenplay was written by Lawrence Kasdan, who also wrote Riders of the Lost Ark and The Big Chill. I Love You, Always was original written and performed by Dolly Parton, but Houston's version became more famous, and the chemistry between Houston and Costner contributed significantly to the film's popularity. And if we talk about reception, while The Bodyguard received mixed review from critics, it was warmly embraced by audience, especially fans of Whitney Houston's first soundtrack remains one of the best-selling albums of all time. And let's talk about its more review and analysis. To wait for a little moment. if we talk about introduction and context, it released on November 25, 1992. The Bodyguard is a romantic action thriller that has become an iconic film, particularly renowned for its compelling performances, memorable soundtrack, and its influence on pop culture. Directed by Mike Jackson, the film combines elements of romance, suspense, and music, creating a unique blend that captivated audiences worldwide. The film marked Whitney Houston's acting depth, showcasing her exceptional musical talent and establishing her as a crossover star. Beyond her singing career, Costner, already an accomplished actor and director, played the stoic and dedicated bodyguard Frank Palmer, bringing depth and intensity to the role. Plot, if we talk about plot summary in details, the star started Falcon Maroon, a multi-talented superstar who is famous for her singing and acting career. She lives a glamorous but somewhat lonely life, constantly under the scrutiny of the media and fans. Her world is turned upside down when she receives threatening letters, the message from an obsession fan, leading her to hire professional security expert. And if we talk about Frank Farmer, a farmer secret service agent is hired to provide discreet and expert protection for Raquel. From the outset, Frank is portrayed as a non-nonsense, disciplined individual with a haunted past which he keeps hidden behind a as Frank begins to implement security measures. Raquel initially resent his strict rules and surveillance. However, gradually a complex relationships develop between the two, blending professional boundaries with personal feelings. The romantic tension escalates amidst the suspense of the stalking threats, culminating in tense confrontation and emotional elevation. The film reaches its climax when the stalker makes a direct attempt on Raquel's life, leading to a dramatic showdown filled with action and suspense. The story ultimately explores themes of trust, vulnerability, and the transformative power of love love in dangerous circumstances. And if we talk about major themes and analysis, and if we talk about major themes and analysis, protection and vulnerability. The film explores the paradox of fame while it grants fame and wealth, it also exposes individuals to danger and intrusion. Frank's role symbolizes the need for protection, but it also reveals the vulnerability of those in the spotlight. If we talk about love and trust, the evolving relationship between Frank and Raquel highlights themes of trust and emotional openness. Their romance develops amidst the danger, illustrating how love can face adversity. And if we talk about obsession and stalking, the film delves into the dark side of fandom, illustrating how obsession can turn dangerous. It sheds light on the importance of security and vigilance in protecting celebrities' self-giving and healing. Frank's character involves confronting his past trauma and opening up to new emotional connections, focusing themes of health and personal growth. And if we talk about music and soundtrack, one of the most enduring legacy it's always is its soundtrack, which features Whitney Houston's powerhouse vocal. The most iconic song, "I Will Always Love You," written by Dolly Parton, became a cultural phenomenon, topping charts worldwide and winning numerous awards. Other notable tracks include "Run to You," "Queen of the Night," and "Jesus Loves Me," which highlights Houston's vocal range and emotional depth. The soundtrack was a commercial success, selling over 45 million copies worldwide and solidifying Austin's status as a music legend. And if we talk about production details, uh, if we talk about filming location, the movie was shot primarily in Los Angeles, California, with some scenes filmed at the Beverly Hills Hostel and other notable locations. And if we talk about budget and box office, the film was produced on a budget of approximately 25 millions and grossed over 411 million globally, making it one of the highest grossing films of 1992. And if we talk about casting, Whitney Austin was cast after a success the debut album and her role in the film The Preacher's Wife. Kevin Costner was chosen for his strong screen presence and ability to portray a stoic character. And if we talk about critical reception, uh, mixed to positive reviews, critics praise Boston musical performances and Costner's commanding presence, but some criticize the film's predictable plot and formulaic romance. And if we talk about awards and nominations, the film received several nominations, including a Golden Globe nod for Whitney Austin for Best Actress in a Motion Picture Drama. However, it did not garner many major awards. If we talk about audience reception, fans loved the chemistry between Austin and Costner, and the film soundtrack remains a cultural staple. And if we talk about cultural impact and legacy, and if we talk about music and music legacy, I will always become one of the best-selling singles of all time, and the soundtrack is one of the best-selling albums with an enduring influence on pop and R&B music. And if we talk about fashion and style, the film's fashion, especially Whitney Houston's glamorous outfit, influenced 90s style. If we talk about influence on films, the success of The Bodyguard paved the way for future romantic thrillers and star-driven projects emphasizing the synergy of music and storytelling. If we talk about interesting facts and trivia, Whitney Houston's depth acting role was in this film, and she performed most of her own singing in the movie. The film's iconic poster features Houston with a stunning glamorous look, which becomes a visual symbol of 90s pop culture. The original script was more focused on the thriller aspect, but it was reworked to highlight the romance and musical elements. And if you talk about the film's screenplay was written by Lawrence Costner, who was known for his work on Riders of the Lost Ark and the Empire Strike Back. And Kevin Costner's character was inspired by a combination of real life security professional and fictional bodyguards. If we go for a conclusion, The Bodyguard remains a timeless film that combines romance, suspense, and music into a completely package. Its cultural impact is undeniable, especially in the realm of pop music, thanks largely to Whitney Houston's unforgettable performances despite despite mixed critical reviews. The movie's popularity endures and it continues to be celebrated by fans around the world decades after its release. And let's talk about more. we talk again about introduction, released in late 1992, The Bodyguard is a film that transcends its genre boundaries to become an enduring cultural phenomenon, combining elements of romantic drama, suspense, thriller, and musical performances. The film is most famously associated with Whitney Austin's iconic voice and Kevin Costner's commanding screen presence. It becomes a defining film of the early 1990s, not only because of its box office success, but also because of its soundtrack, which remains one of the best-selling albums of all time. The film is quintessential example of star power, storytelling, and music coming together to create something memorable. It's story of love, danger, heroism, vulnerability, fame, and trust all set against the glamorous background of Hollywood. And if we talk about historical and cultural context, early 90s Hollywood, the the early 90s was a time when blockbuster films, especially those starring big names, were dominating the box office. The era saw a surge in romantic dramas with action or thriller elements, appealing to wide audience with the option Nelson's rise. Prior to the Bodyguard, Whitney Nelson was already a celebrated singer with a string of hits including Greatest Love of All, How Will I Know, and Saving All My Love for You. Her transition into acting was highly anticipated, and this film marked her debut in leading role. If you talk about Ken Costner's career by 1992, Costner was already a major Hollywood star with his hits like That's It, which was which would win him an Oscar and Robert Prince of Thieves. His casting was seen as strategic move to anchor the film's appeal. And if we talk about development and production, concept and writing, the screenplay was penned by Lawrence Kasdan, a prolific writer and director known for his work on Raiders on the Lost Ark, The Empire Strike Back, and Grand Canyon. Kasdan had experience crafting stories that blend action, romance, and character depth, making him an ideal choice for the bodyguard. Original, the story was conceived as a straightforward thriller about a bodyguard protecting a famous person against stalker and threats. Over time, the script was reworked to include a romantic storyline, emphasizing the chemistry between the character of Frank Farmer and Raquel Maron. And if you talk about casting choices and challenges, Whitney Austin, her acting depth was gimbal, but her natural charisma and vocal talent more made her the perfect fit for Raquel Maron Houston's performances was praised for its sincerity, though she was new to acting. And if we talk about Kevin Costner, now for his rugged masculinity and serious roles, Costner brought gravity and discipline to Frank Farmer. His chemistry with Boston was widely praised, and their on-screen relationships becomes the heart of the film. And if we talk about supporting cast, Gary Camp played the stronger with Will Goss and other providing supporting roles that added depth and texture to the story. And if we talk about filming locations, the film was primarily shot in Los Angeles, California. Notable locations including the Beverly Hills, some scenes are shot at my night, emphasizing the suspenseful tone. The production faced challenges such as tight schedule and the need to balance musical performances with action scenes. And if we talk about music and soundtrack, the soundtrack was crafted to complement the film's themes. Whitney Houston's performance several songs, including her signature hit "I Will Always Love You," which was a cover of Dolly Parton's classic. The soundtrack also featured tracks like "Run to You," "Queen of the Night," and "Jesus Loves Me," which underscore emotional moments. Hostel's performances, both vocals and acting, elevated the film. Emotional resonance, the soundtracks becomes cultural touchstone, selling over 45 million copies worldwide. And if we talk about in-depth plot breakdown, Act 1 Introduction and Setup. The film opens with scenes of Raquel Marin's glamorous life, performing on stage, interacting with fans, and dealing with obsessive fans and media scrutiny. The threats against her become more serious in an anonymous letter warns her of danger. Frank Farmer is introduced as highly disciplined private and no-nonsense bodyguard hired to protect Raquel. His background as a former Secret Service agent adds credibility. Raquel initially resents his strict rules, feeling smoothed by the security measures. And if we talk about building tension and relationship, despite initial resistance, Raquel begins to see the value of Frank's protection as threats escalates. The two characters develops a complex relationships being blending professional boundaries with romantic tension. Scenes of training, surveillance, and emotional exchange reveals their vulnerabilities. The stalker's presence grows more menacing, leading to tense moments of suspicion and paranoia. Raquel's sister Nikki, played by Lisa Hartman, provides comic relief and emotional support. And if we talk about climax and resolution, the struggle makes a direct attempt on Raquel's life during a concert, resulting in a harrowing sequence of events. Frank's protective skills are put to the test in gripping action sequence. The stalker is eventually unmasked, revealing what is rooted in obsession and jealousy. In the aftermath, Raquel and Frank confront their feelings, leading to a romantic culmination. The film ends with a sense of hope, love, and protection, highlighting the theme of trust and vulnerability. Themes, if we talk about themes to have to fame and privacy. The film explores the toll of fame, showing how public figures are vulnerable to stalking, intrusion, and the loss of privacy. If we talk about love in dangerous circumstances, the romance between Frank and Raquel emphasizes that love can flourish even amid danger and mistrust. If we talk about protection and trust, the story underscores the importance of trust, both in security professionals and in loved ones. If we talk about obsession and danger, the stronger characters symbolize the darkest side of fandom and of the wing serving as the cautionary tale. And if we talk about critical reception and legacy, critics praise Whitney Houston's musical performances and her on-screen presence. Kevin Costner's portrayal of Frank Farmer was lauded for its subtlety and strength. Some critics found the plot predictable and formulaic, but the chemistry between leads and the soundtrack's success largely overshadows these criticism. And if we talk about awards and nominations, the the film was nominated for a Golden Globe Award for Whitney Watson for Best Actress. Hostess I Will Always Love You earned numerous awards including Grammy and Oscar for the song. And if we talk about box office success, grossed over 411 million worldwide, became one of the most highest grossing film of film of 1992. The soundtrack sold over 45 million copies globally, solidifying its cultural impact. And if we talk about cultural impact, the film popularized the romantic thriller genre, blending music with action. Whitney Houston's performance and song become iconic, influencing future artists. And if we talk about the phrase "I will always love you," become synonymous with Austen's career and the film's emotional core. The film inspired parodies and reference enter tributes in pop culture. And if we talk about legacy and influence, and the success of the Bodyguard helped pave the way for future musical romantic dramas, Houston transitioning into acting, though challenging demonstrated her versatility as an entertainer, and the film's soundtrack remains one of the best-selling album of all time. With enduring popularity, it set a template for films that combine star powers, music, and suspense. And if we talk about behind the scene stories and fun fact, film what Whitney Houston performed most of her own singing in the film, even during emotional scenes. The iconic scene where Houston's character sings "I will always love you" was shot in a single take. Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston reportedly had a good working relationships which contributed to their on-screen chemistry. The film's poster featuring Houston in a glamorous pose became one of the most recognizable images of the 90s. The film had a significant influence on celebrity culture, emphasizing the vulnerability and humanity of stars. And if we talk about conclusion, the bodyguard is much more than a romantic thriller. It's a cultural milestone that seamlessly blends music, emotions, and suspense into a compelling narrative. Its impact endures through its unforgettable soundtracks, iconic performances, and its exploration of love, trust, and protecting amid uh, fame's clear. Despite some critics, the film's legacy as a pop culture phenomenon remains intact, inspiring future generations and holding a special place in cinematic history. And if we talk about introduction, a cultural phenomenon, the Bodyguard is not just a film. It's a cultural landmark that encapsulates the glamour and emotional depth of early 90s Hollywood. It boasts an extraordinary emphasis of star power, musical beyond the screen into fashion, music, and pop culture, making it a quintessential example of how a film can transcend its genre to become a lasting icon. As a romantic thriller with musical elements, the film weaves a story of love and danger, trust and betrayal, vulnerability and sunset against the glitzy backdrop of Hollywood entertainment industry. Its impact is not felt not only through its box office success but also through its soundtrack, which remains iconic even decades later. Let's talk about more. And if we talk about historical context and initial development, Hollywood in the early 90s. The early 90s was a fertile period for blockbuster filmmaking characterized by big stars, high budget, and blending of genre, romantic dramas with an action or suspense elements thrived, appealing to broad audience seeking escapism, emotional storytelling, and adrenaline. And if we talk about star power and star-crossed streams, and if we talk about the casting of Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner was a masterstroke, combining musical star appeal with acting abilities. Houston, already a global superstar, was making her debut. Costner was a masterstroke, combining musical star appeal with acting abilities. Austin, already a global superstar, was making her debut as a leading actress while Costner was riding high on critic acclaim and box office hits. And if we talk about development and screenplay origins, the screenplay was crafted by Lawrence Kasdan, who was renowned for his work on Raiders of the Lost Ark and Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back. Kasdan's expertise in blending action, romance, and character driven stories was instrumental in shaping the film's narrative. The initial script focused more on the thriller aspect, but it was later reworked to emphasize romance on musical elements aligning with Houston's of star persona. And if we talk about funding and production challenges, with a production budget estimated at around $25 million, the project went through the typical Hollywood hurdles of scheduling, location management, and balancing musical performances with action sequence. The team aimed for a polished, glamorous aesthetic that would appeal to both fans of romantic drama and action thrillers. And if we talk about casting, Starline, Whitney Houston, the newcomer with a voice And if we talk about Hassan, casting was driven by her massive singing and burning reputation as a charismatic performer. And despite her inexperience in acting, her natural expressions and vocal talent made her the perfect for Kilmer. She performed most of her own singing, including the iconic I Will Always Love You, which becomes her signature song. And if we talk about Keen Costner, the stoic protector, known for his song rugged roles, Costner brought a sense of calm authority to Frank Farmer. His chemistry with Houston was palpable, and their on-screen interaction becomes the emotional course of the film. And if we talk about Costner's background, both acting and directing added depth for his portrait of a man haunted by his past but seeking redemption through love and supporting cast and crew. Gary Campbell played the stalker, adding menace to the narrative. Lisa Hartman as Nikki Maroon provided emotional support and comic relief. Mike Jackson directed with a focus on balancing suspense and romance, ensuring neither overshadowed the other. If we talk about filming, locations, and production details, if we talk about primary locations, Los Angeles include the Beverly Hills Hotel, which contributed to the film's glamorous aesthetics. And if we talk about scenes and cinematography, the cinematography emphasized both the glaze of Hollywood and the tense, suspenseful movements through strategic lighting and camera angles. And if we talk about challenge, shooting musical scenes, action sequences, and maintaining continuity was complex, but the team executed with a professional. And if we talk about music and soundtrack, an enduring legacy, the soundtrack was crafted to complement the film's emotional beats with Austin's performance is elevated, the narrative culminating in her inimitable ending of I will love you always. The soundtrack sold over 45 million copies, making it one of the best-selling albums of all time, and making it one of the best-selling albums of all time. Other tracks like Run to You, Queen of the Night, and Jesus Loves Me underscore key emotional moments enhancing the storytelling. And if we talk about exercising the glamorous and the thrills, uh, the film opens with scenes of Raquel Maron's captivating stage performances, stabilizing her fame and vulnerability. The introduction of Frank Farmer signals a shift from glamour to danger. His no-nonsense attitude and background set the tone. The initial tension between Raquel and Frank highlights her independence and his professionalism. And if we talk about building the relationships amidst danger, as threats escalate, Raquel begins to trust Frank's expertise, leading to more intimate interactions. Scenes depict training, surveillance, and moments of vulnerability revealing their emotional depth. The stalker's presence grows more menacing, culminating in suspenseful scenes where danger lurks at every turn. Frank's past is hinted at through subtle flashing, revealing a haunted history of loss and betrayal. If we talk about the climax and resolution, the Stigger's attack during the concert is a high-octane sequence filled with tension, heroism, and emotional stakes. Frank's protection instinct sign risking his life to save Rocky. The villain is unmasked, revealing motives rooted in obsession, jealousy, and revenge. The final scenes focus on Raquel and Frank overcoming their fears, confessing love, and embracing a future together. And if we talk about themes and symbolism explored, Fame and its toll. The film vividly illustrates how fame can be both blessing and a curse. Raquel's celebrity status exposed her to dangers. Obsessive fan and media interaction emphasizing the double-edged sword of stardom. And if we talk about love amidst danger, the romance develops against a backdrop of threat and suspense, symbolizing hope and human connections in time of peril. Their relationships underscores themes of trust, vulnerability, and emotional honesty, and if it protection and trust. The central motive revolves around the importance of trusting others to safeguard what's precious, whether it's physical safety or emotional well-being. And if we talk about obsession and darkness, the stalker embodies the destructive power of obsession. His character explores the darker aspects of fandom, and the loss of boundaries between admiration and dangerous fixation. And if we talk about critical reception and cultural impact, and if we talk about critical analysis, critic praised Harrison's vocal performances and her natural charisma. Costner's portrayal of Frank was lauded for its subtlety and emotional depth, and some reviewers found the plot predictable, but the film emotional resonance and music overshadowed critics. If we talk about award and honor, Whitney Austin received nominating for her acting, and her song I Will Always Love You won numerous awards, including Grammy, Oscar, and Golden Globe. The film was a commercial success, grossing over 411 million globally. And if we talk about pop culture legacy, the phrase I will always love you becomes synonymous with Houston's legacy. The soundtrack's success influenced future the film's poster and promotional image remain iconic. Parodies, references, and tributes abound in various media, cementing its place in pop culture. And if we talk about long-term impact and influence, music industry, Austin's rendition of I Will Always Love You redefined what a pop ballad could achieve, inspiring countless artists. The soundtrack set a standard for blending music with cinematic storytelling. And if we talk about film, if we talk about film industry, the film popularized the hybrid genre of romantic thriller with musical elements influencing future projects that combine star powers, music, and suspense. Uh, if we talk about fashion and style, the costume, especially Austin's glamorous outlooks, influenced fashion trends in the 90s. And if we talk about star power and celebrity culture, the the film exemplified how personal vulnerability and emotional honesty could elevate a star's appeal, setting a template for celebrity-driven projects. And if we talk about behind the scenes anecdotes and fun fact, and if we talk about the iconic "I Will Always Love You" perform, it was shot in a single take during the film's climax. Houston performed most of her own singing, including emotional charged scenes. Costner and Houston developed a strong rapport, which translated into authentic chemistry on screen. The film's promotional campaign centered heavily on Houston's musical talent and star image. The production team had to carefully balance the emotional depth of the romance with the suspenseful thriller elements. And if we talk about a conclusion, a lasting legacy, The Bodyguard remains a timeless classic that seamlessly blends romance, suspense, and music into an emotional, compelling narrative. Its influence permeates music, film, fashion, and pop cultures, making it more than just a movie. It's a cultural icon. Whitney Houston's voice and presence combine worldwide, inspiring generational and defining an era. And if we talk more about it, It will take little time, so you have to wait for a little moment. And if we talk about introduction, an enduring cultural icon, The Bodyguard is more than just a film, it's an emblem of 1990s pop culture, a cinematic phenomenon that has stood the test of time. Its unique combination of star power, musical brilliance, and storytelling craftsmanship created a multi-layered experience that continues to resonate with audience decades after it release. Then the film's appeal lies in its perfect storm of elements. The charisma and vocal talent of Whitney Houston, the commanding presence of Kevin Costner, an emotional charge storyline, and an unforgettable soundtrack. It embodies themes of love, protection, vulnerability, fame, dark side and delicious, making it malefacted masterpiece that has influenced countless works and inspired generation. And if you talk about historical and cultural context, Hollywood in the early 90s, a golden era of blockbuster. During this period, Hollywood was dominated by big budget films that combined genre elements, romance, action, suspense, and music. Studios sought to capitalize on star power and cross-media appeal after integrating blockbuster soundtracks into their films. And if we talk about the rise of Whitney Houston, by 1992, Whitney Houston was and if we talk about the rise of Whitney Houston, by 1992, Whitney Houston was already A soul name with her soothing voice and chart-topping hits, making her a global icon. Her debut acting role was highly anticipated, and a transition from music superstar to actress was watched closely. And if we talk about Kevin Costner's ascendancy, Costner was at the height of his career with critical and complex. And if we talk about critical and commercial success like Dances with Wolves and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, his image as a dependable hair made into an ideal choice to portray from farmer. And if we talk about societal themes of the era, the early 90s also shock and increased fascinating with this talk about celebrity vulnerability, personal safety, and the darker side of fame. The film tapped into these societal fears and fascinating, making it highly relevant. And if we talk about development and production from concept to screen, if we talk about origin of the story, the screenplay initially conceived as a straightforward thriller about a bodyguard protecting a famous person evolved into a romantic drama with musical elements. Lawrence Kasdan's renowned for his storytelling finds influenced the script with emotional depth and character complexity. Writing and revision, if it and the script underwent multiple rewrites to balance the thriller aspect with the romantic subplot. The goal was to create tension, intrigue, and suspense all woven seamlessly. And if we talk about casting choice and challenge, and if we talk about Whitney Houston's, her casting was gambled due to her inexperience as an actress. However, her natural warmth and charisma shone through. And if we talk about Kevin Costner, mm, his serious demeanor and acting chops provided gravitas, balancing Austin's energetic star power. Supporting cast included notable talents like Gary Camp and Bill Cox. who added layers to the story. And if you talk about filming took place mainly in Los Angeles, capturing the glamour of Hollywood. The production faced challenges such as coordinating musical scenes, action sequence, and maintaining continuity. If we talk about music, the soundtrack was integrated into the narrative with Houston performing key songs that underscore emotional moments. And if we talk about music and soundtrack details, the soundtrack was curated to reflect the emotional beats and character development. Whitney Houston's cover of I Will Always Love You became a cultural phenomenon, breaking records worldwide. Other tracks like Run to You, Queen of the Light, and Jesus Loves Me contributed to the film's emotional resonance, plot, a scene by scene exploration, and if we talk about glamour and threats, the film opens with Kyle Maron's dazzling performance highlighting her fame and the media frenzy around her. A mystery stuff begins to threaten her, signaling danger. Frank Farm his interest as disciplined, gravity, and formidable bodyguard hired to protect her. And if we talk about building trust and romantic tension, Rachel resists the security measures initially, feeling her independence threatened as threats escalate. She begins to see the necessity of Frank's protection, scenes of surveillance, training, and emotional exchange deepen their connection. The stalker's presence intensifies, leading to suspenseful moment of near disaster. Flashbacks reveals Frank's haunted past, lost battle, and the reason behind the guarded demeanor. And if we talk about confrontation and resolution, the struggles attract during a concert is a tense, action packed sequence. Frank's here's when quick thinking saved Russell's life. The struggle is almost exposing what is rooted in obsession and jealousy. The emotional climax is Raquel and friend confronting their feelings, leading to a romantic realization. The film closes with hope, love, and mutual trust. And let's do a deep dive into theme and symbolize. First thing that came it is fame and its dangers. The film vividly explores how fame exposes individual to danger, obsession, and loss of privacy. Raquel's fame makes her vulnerable to the darker side of fandom, illustrating the double-edged nature of celebrity. And if we talk about love and vulnerability, the romance between Raquel and Frank emphasizes that love requires trust and vulnerability. Their relationship develops amid danger, symbolizing hope even in precious circumstances. And if we talk about protection, trust, and emotional security, and the core message revolves around the importance of trust, whether in bodyguards, loved ones, or ourselves, to safeguard what we cherish. If we talk about obsession and darkness, the stalker character embodies obsession, destructive power, highlighting the societal issue of fan obsession and mental health struggles. If we talk about critical reception and cultural impact, let's do its critical analysis. Austin's vocal performances and natural charisma drew widespread praise. Costner's sustained unauthoritative portrayal of Frank was lauded. Some critics found the plot predictability, but the emotional depth and music compensated. So it was a review of this movie. I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy it. So goodbye for now. Let's meet tomorrow. Thank you for being here. Okay, goodbye.